Hey, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of Purposeful Exchange Podcast, where faith, family, and finances meet. We are your hosts, Derek and Janice Parker of Purposeful Marriages. And today we're going to discuss, this is the month of September. And in the month of September, many things are recognized, but one of the ones that is best is Grandparents' Day.
Yeah.
So we've celebrated not only Grandparents' Day, but we're celebrating Grandparents' Month. Yay. We celebrating all month long. So we, Derek and I are, if this is your first time seeing us, we are grandparents to how many grandchildren, Derek?
7 3/4.
7 3/4. Before the end of this year, we will be grandparents to 8 grandchildren.
8 grandchildren, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm. So a little behind the scenes story of my grandparenting experience. Many of you may know, if you've watched this episode before or know me personally, know that I was diagnosed with breast cancer not once but twice. And during my first diagnosis in 2012, alongside the many prayers of God healing me, I asked God to allow me to live long enough to see grandchildren. And this is my very early stages of diagnosis when my faith was a little weak and I was just uncertain about things. But that I know was a prayer. And why it was a prayer for me is because one of the many memories that I have of my mother is being a grandmother. And not only her conversations to me as an adult about her love for being a grandparent was my witnessing her experiences and how she cared for my nieces and nephews. So I wanted that same experience. One of my many memories of my mother and her grandparent experience to my firstborn child was when I had my daughter. I was attending ICC at the time, and I was taking my daughter to school with me because they had a daycare at the East Peoria campus. Full circle. I'm now an employee at ICC. Okay, but anyway, so I, one morning, I remember it was winter, and I was at the time living with my parents, and my mom was working a third shift job. And I remember her coming into the house as I was about to leave out, and I had my daughter bundled up and in her car seat ready to go. And my mom, this is the days where, they didn't tell you not to put a coat on your kid or a snowsuit or all that kind of stuff. Now you take the kids out with none of that stuff on. And I understand the reasons for safety. But anyway, okay. So my mom walked in the house and said, "You can take her out of that car seat. I'm going to keep her. I just quit my job." And I'm like, you what? And she was like, "Yeah, I don't want you taking her to daycare." And this also was, my mom knew that I had mom guilt and that my child was, young, and I just had feelings about her attending daycare at such a young age. So I now realize the true value in my mom's sacrifice, because a lot of people don't have the ability to do that. Now grandparents are like us, 2 working parents, and unable to be that daycare support for their children. But trust me, it is my goal. It is my goal. I cannot wait to be able to walk out of my job and be a full-time grandparent. And my husband knows that. And so oftentimes one of the things that he says to me is, "I'm trying to get you home." And when he say, "I'm trying to get you home," he knows exactly what that means to me. Right, babe?
I do.
What does that mean to me?
That means that you can be a full-time grandmother. Mm-hmm. And yeah. So, Brinks, I need your help.
Can't wait. I don't even know how this is going to work, y'all, because I didn't really think this through. Like, I may have to have a part-time job, because the way that my grandparenting is set up, I mean, we need funds. We need funds for field trips and, just things. And so I got to make sure that we're good financially, so that when I'm ready to walk out, that he's able to still supply me that income to do the things that we want to do. But however, through our many years of experience with grandchildren over the past 10 years, we've learned that you can do things that are free, right, babe?
Yeah, I mean, we just haven't seen them yet, but I'm sure there is. She's looking though. I mean, so she says.
Less expensive. How about that?
Yeah, that too.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
I need
so,
receipts.
So anyway, okay, let's jump into seriously acknowledge the sacred role that grandparents actually play in the family structure. And again, I know where we are in society right now that we don't see the sacrifices made as grandparents are unable to, not that they don't want to. There could be some who don't, but they are unable to make those sacrifices that many of us adults now, grandparents, made for us. So let's talk about some of the joys of grandparenting young children. And Derek and I can only speak from young children experience because as we stated, our oldest is 10. So, we have yet to get to those adolescent, teenage, young adult grandparent, but I'm looking forward to it. We're trying to set that foundation now, but let's talk about some of the joys, Derek. Tell me some of the joys that you have of being a grandparent of young children.
One of the joys, I think, is just watching them and their energy. Another thing is when they're at our home, they just the comfort and the security that they feel. They roam around, they're into all kind of things, but then they want us to be involved as well. And it's such a pleasure to have them here. I'm gonna tell you, they have a lot of energy. They really do, and I appreciate that. Don't get me wrong, I love my babies, but I shouldn't say but, and it's just, I get energized just by watching their energy, and as long as they're happy, that's enough for me.
Yeah. I know that if it was left up to me, I would allow my grandkids to live here, right?
You've tried.
Yes.
The parents ain't going for it.
Yeah, I would. I enjoy them being here. But let me just say, though, in all honesty, I say that, but especially when we have multiples here at one time, when they leave, it's like woosah.
It's an exhale. I mean, it is.
It's
because it's like, and it, no shade, but it depends on which. Never mind.
That is true.
When the younger ones are here, they're less likely to clean up.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why I'm saying that.
That's true.
I love them. They have they have so much energy, which is wonderful. But there's like clean up. They're like, oh no, we gotta go.
Right. And we separate our kids. We identify them as bigs and littles.
Yeah.
So we've gotten smarter over the years that we will get the bigs at one time and the littles at one time, not all together. We did try that a few times. We've had them all here at one time.
Yeah, I think there was 6 at that time, wasn't it?
Yes, there were 6 all together at one time. And let me just say, we don't do that often. It has to be something real special. But also we got smart enough to add the bigs and the littles together. So we use those bigs sometimes to help with the littles. Really, nobody really helps except Ellie.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because I think with the littles, you and I took one of the smaller ones before Emir got here, right? We had the little ones, and then they kind of helped us with the medium, I guess we can call it in our category, the medium age ones. Yeah. And the olders were just like, they're too busy. They want to do their own thing. That's not what they come over here.
They we ain't trying to babysit no kids. Right. And I do like that because our grandkids always want to be here. Yeah. They always want to be here and they don't want to leave. And that gives me a good feeling. Yeah. I look at our house as a safe space, also a fun place. and they want us to be involved.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder about that. I feel like, and this is no shade because my kids, I already told them this, I feel like sometimes life is so busy at home, right? As working parents and trying to feed kids and doing this every day, life can get busy. And so they may not get the one-on-one attention that they deserve, especially when you have multiple kids at the house, right? So when they come here, Granny and Pawpaw has the time to give them that one-on-one attention.
Yeah, but I think to be fair, I mean, I agree with you, but I also, to add to that, let me say it that way, to add to that, I think that when they're with their parents and in those spaces, you're talking most of the times during the week. So you got school and all those kind of things. So you do have a certain schedule that you really need to keep the kids on.
Yeah.
When they get to the grandparents' house, usually it's the weekend or school is not in, and we can just ruin all the parents' plans and, just kind of spoil them our way because they have more freedom. You don't have to get up in the morning. You can stay up a little later, all those kind of things. But we do coordinate and make sure that what their parents' wishes are, that we try to follow most of those. Not all, but most. Maybe some. Maybe a few. Let's just stay with a few and just leave it at that.
Yeah, we're going to get to that part too.
That's just a few.
Supporting versus parenting kind of thing. So yeah, I say Derek does very well with that and trying to stick to what the parents' wishes are.
Mm-hmm.
I just announced it in the beginning, and I'm getting better. Like, okay, well, they can do this at my house. There's a lot of things that they can do at my house, but there are a lot of things that they can do at Granny's house. So anyway, moving along.
Hang on one second. Did y'all hear what she just said? She said at Granny's house. Where does Pawpaw live? She sounds like one of the grandkids. Where does Pawpaw live? Hold on. No, let me tell you where Pawpaw lives. Pawpaw lives at Granny's house.
Okay.
Grandkids, they'll tell you.
So since we on that topic, grandparents out there, does anybody say that when they go to their grandparents' house, let's say if it's a 2-grandparent home, do they say they're going to grandparents' house? Do they say they're going to Pawpaw's house? Do they say they're going to Granny's house? Because for whatever reason, very early on, 10 years ago, our grandson started saying Granny's house. Now everybody says Granny's house.
I don't know. Mason probably said Pawpaw house.
No. Now
I'm gonna say Mason said Pawpaw house.
No, he did not. Mason now says it because Pawpaw has made him aware, and he's 10 years old. So Pawpaw has stated it enough and questioned him enough, like, well, where does Pawpaw live? Well, why is it just Granny's house? And now Mason he recognizes that, so he catches himself and he'll say Granny and Pawpaw's house. But the other kids have not yet learned that. And so when Derek asks them, how do they reply to you, Derek?
As far as what?
When you say, where does Pawpaw live? Why is this just Granny's house?
They said I just live at Granny's house. I mean, Pawpaw lives at Granny's house. Oh, well, again, it depends on which one you ask. Now, if you ask Ellie.
That's our oldest granddaughter.
Yes. Now, if you ask Ellie, she going to say, well, Pawpaw, you live at Granny's house because Granny is the boss of you. And I said, no, Granny is not. She's like, yes, she is, because she told me she was the boss of you.
I did not. But I did not. Yeah. Next, moving on.
Okay, so now she wants to move on.
To acknowledging the role and the joys of. So you stated that the joy is seeing their energy.
Mm-hmm.
What other joys?
It's just really just having them around. I mean, I really can't explain the love, but it's just, again, just having them around. It's like you and I have a good time here.
Mm-hmm.
When the kids were here, we had a good time. Mm-hmm. And then, being an empty nesters, it's like the kids just fill the spaces.
Yes, that is true.
And
that's very true.
It's almost like it comes alive, and not that it was dead, but it's just a different type of energy, mm-hmm. right, when they're here, because these are not your kids. These are your children's children. And that is just, I mean, it's awesome, because when I look at the grandkids, I look at the kids as well. And it's like, this is what you created.
Yes.
We created you created this.
Yes.
And it's just awesome. I mean,
it is.
It's a joy. And it's like, people say all the time, it's like, y'all always got y'all grandkids, and we always will. Because, and it's not like it's a different love from anybody else. It's just, I don't know. It's just different.
Yeah.
And we just love it.
We do. It is. And you summed it up perfectly. I look at them and I see my children in them, and it's just such a joy. Yeah. But, it's fun, but it's also about planting seeds.
It is.
Seeds of faith and seeds of value. And that's one of the things that I think right now that our society may miss out on, is that understanding our true role in being grandparents. It is not just about caring for them, and supporting, whether it's physically, emotionally, or financially. It's all of that. And it's about making sure that our children know Christ, right? And that can be tough in certain circumstances. If your children have other beliefs as it relates to religion, you have to make sure you don't overstep their boundaries. We're thankful that our children allow us to introduce our faith to our grandchildren, and they welcome it. And we try to instill in them the same values that we instilled in our children. And that is recognizing who Christ is, praying, having, values, our cultures. And we are a very mixed bag with our grandchildren. Our grandchildren are all mixed with different cultures, right? So one set of grandchildren are African American and Hispanic. We have one that's African American and German, African American and, is it Portuguese or Brazilian? Brazil. Her parents are from Brazil.
I think so.
Yeah. So we have a mixed bag. So understanding not only that they get our side and culture values, but the other side as well. And we respect those. Yeah. We respect the cultures in each of those families. So, so it's not just about having fun with them. It's about valuing, instilling those values within them. And to me, and for us, I would say, we definitely know our role, and we play that role, and we communicate to our children our role of instilling those values into them and making sure that they never forget their history, their heritage, their culture, none of those things. Because one thing I think we all can agree on is there are some family values that went away when grandparents went away. So when I can remember far back, I don't feel like that you've never been able to experience your grandparents, right? On either side.
No.
Right? And
unfortunately.
That is very unfortunate. A set of our grandchildren have not only their grandparents, they have their great-grandparents and experience their great-great-grandchildren or grandparents. That is very rare.
It is.
That's
Even
such a blessing.
It is.
It's such a blessing. And I tell them that all the time. Like, sometimes children aren't able to experience that rich legacy within their family. So this is a blessing. Yeah. But something I was going to say about the grandparents leaving and those things. Even with my mom, my children say, we feel like when grandpa passed, grandma passed, that the family doesn't get together and do the things that they used to do. And that is very true. And that falls on my siblings and I. Like, we didn't continue that legacy and bringing family together. So I miss that. And I want to make sure that that doesn't happen for our children. So,
yeah. Something I was going to say too, just going back a little bit, talking about foundations and talking about Christianity. We want to introduce our grandkids, like we did our kids, introduce them to Christ. But this is by no means something that we force on them. Even now, at their young age, we ask them, do they want to go to church? And, because we think it's important to introduce, and that's what we should do, is introduce your children, introduce others into Christ, but not to force them in a situation where, we were forced. I was forced. Shouldn't say forced. I didn't have a choice. I guess that's kind of forced. Sleeping under the pews, all those kind of things. As I got older, I began to appreciate that even more. But it was a different time then, So you look at the times now with how our kids are growing up in society, so many things that they have options to, where back then you didn't have all of those options. So it makes a big difference. But that foundation is important. Why? Because if you look around the world, you'll see what's missing. Mainly it is that foundation where, Big Mama and them, as it was known, being the head of the family, how they kept things together, as Janice described with Mom D, and how she ensured that the family was together. That was one of her, I wouldn't say it was one of her necessary roles, but it was more of her passion, is what she wanted to do. And she had a certain thing that she wanted to impart to all of those who her children, her grandchildren, and she did an excellent job at doing that. And so, to see Janice really carry that on really goes a long way. I tell her often that I look at her and it just reminds me of Mom D and how I love her so much, of what she used to do. And she didn't care. I think we said this in another episode. She didn't care what you had going on. When she said come together, that's what happened. Everybody came together. And I think that's important right now, even with our grandkids, while we love them, while we spoil them, while we give them everything, as Janice alluded to earlier, we also make sure that they have a foundation and understand, just as well as you get to do all of these things, there's some other things that come along with that, right? There's some other responsibilities, even if it's just your behavior, even if it's just how you conduct yourself in school or how it's displayed in your grades. Those type of things, all those things matter. And I think it's important up and down the village, because it takes a village to raise a child. So up and down that village, it's important that everybody's on one accord to make sure that the rules don't change so much from one house to the other, because you want to make sure that you are continuing that same message, no matter where the grandkids or children are. They're hearing that same message and it's being carried out. However, grandparents and grandniece breaks some of those rules and does kind of go rogue every now and again. And I kind of like that part too, just a little bit, because I just look at her like, you're going to get in so much trouble. And she's like, no, I'm not.
So, yeah, and that leads us right to the point I wanted to make in balancing support versus parenting, like respecting the parent roles.
Yeah.
So I'll just, full transparency, I was bad at that in the beginning because I felt I knew best.
You still do.
I still do. I do. But I do better at communicating to them. And I will say this. So my boys were the ones who made us grandparents first. So we have 2 boys and 1 daughter. And our daughter is the oldest. My youngest made us grandparents first. And then the middle child followed. And then our daughter just recently, the oldest, recently had a baby. So I will say it is very different for supporting your boys who have children, because the mother, and in this case, my daughter-in-law and my son's girlfriends, I can't talk to them the way that I can talk to my own children, right? So that brings about a little bit of barrier. So that is why it's important to have great relationships with the moms as well, right? Whether they are not married or not. So I make sure that I make every effort, and I know that this is controversy in the dynamics of being a grandparent when your son has a child, right? So it's imperative, no matter what it takes, to try and have a positive relationship with the mother of the child, right? Because it makes things easier, right? So when they're together, it's definitely easier. When they're not together, it brings about some difficulty. And if your son doesn't have a good relationship with the mother, that can then hinder, obviously, your relationship with the child if you don't have a good relationship with, both parents, period, right? So it's quite different when you have a daughter who has a child, because I feel like my sons lean towards, which as they should, lean toward the counsel of the mother as opposed to me as a mother. I wouldn't say they didn't listen, and they definitely asked questions, but I may not have been their first go-to. Where when you have a daughter, I don't have to wait to jump in. With my sons, it's like, tag me in, I got this, I know this, I can do this, yada, yada, yada. And they're waiting for the other partner to jump in as well, right? It's like, Mom, they got this, yada, yada, yada. With the daughter, I don't even have to wait to be tagged in. Baby, she tags me in before I'm asked. And I love it. Like, she had, from the onset of pregnancy, she has asked me, Mom, what do you think of this? Mom, how do I do this? Mom, so-and-so, so-and-so. And I'm loving it, right? I'm loving it. I'm being asked, how much do you think I should give them Tylenol now? Mom, what about this? What happens with this? Mom, I had this experience. What about, so you get all the everything, right? And I love that part of it. But back to supporting versus parenting, I am doing so much better, and Derek is helping me on overstepping my boundaries. That's just what it is. Like, I feel like I need to call you and tell you exactly how I feel. If those kids come over here and I observe something, I'm calling you, telling you what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing. I realize that I need to pull back. So I'm more of that, I'm trying to be the parent than supporting the parent. And I feel good about being able to say that, and recognizing where my shortcomings are. So, So in that, we as grandparents have to be very careful about learning what role our children want us to play, even if we don't like it. Mm-hmm. I want you to support me, walk alongside me, come in as I tag you in. Or I want you to help me parent, give me all the advice, which is more common with daughters, I would say.
I would say it depends. I think daughters it is a little different because you raise them. So
you raise the boys too.
No, let me finish.
Okay.
You raise the daughters. So when the daughters have children, they automatically have a certain trust in their parents, their mother's guidance and everything else. When you look at a girlfriend of one of your sons, it's different because they didn't come raised up in that same environment. Mm-hmm. But my point of view would be, I don't think you said your son and the girlfriend is better when they're together. I don't know that that's necessarily true.
I agree.
In my opinion.
I agree.
In my opinion. And I say that because it depends on the relationship
that
you have with the mother. That part is what's important.
Yeah.
So whenever you have a good relationship, and hopefully the mother recognizes too the roles that the grandparents play, because if you're out there, you're single, nothing wrong with that. I came up, my mom was single. It's a little tougher when you don't have that help. But when you have a network of people that you get along with very well, and that the trust and respect is mutual, then you can pass off that child with little to no instruction and feel good that everything is going to be carried out. First and foremost, the expectation is not going to be, well, I need you to call me to do this. I need you to call. The respect is going to do that anyway. Hey, your child so-and-so, I gave them this, that, or the other with like medication or something. Or I went and picked him or her up at school and they told me this, that, or the other. So I'm passing that on to you. Those kind of things, that's a mutual respect in a tribe, if you will. And when I say tribe, I'm talking about a group of people growing, children together collectively. And those things is where it really works. But it's up to all the individuals, to really come together and say, hey, this is how we're going to make it work. And to Janice's point, this is the role that I need you to play. I want you to play. And this is the role. And then we're going to say, well, this is the role that we're comfortable in playing. We appreciate what you're saying, but we're going to do X, Y, Z. Or yes, we can meet that. Or yeah, we could do that with a little twist. But we also going to do, and you want to give us 30%, we're going to take 40, just to let you know. And they're going to be like, oh, really? It's like, yeah, we're going to take 40. And then we'll work it out. But I think, again, collectively, it takes everybody to make this whole thing work.
It does. And the children are so much better off.
They are.
When they see that everybody's involved and everybody wants to take a part. I just can't take a part in raising them.
Yeah.
I just cannot imagine for the parents who chooses to intentionally separate their children from their grandchildren, from their grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's situations where you don't have a choice, where there's distance and
relationship.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Or just the worst. But I intentionally to do that, I just feel like people don't understand what that does to that child or the family dynamics as a whole.
Yeah.
That child misses out on rich legacy and things that the grandparents can provide.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for, right? Yeah. And God has He gave us this title for a reason. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. But yeah, if you're out there and you're listening and you don't have that relationship with your children, don't have that relationship with their grandparents, please make a commitment to make the attempt to try and do your part. I know that, it has to be mutual. Both sides have to want it. And just the opposite. If you're a grandparent and you're out there and you don't have that relationship with your grandchildren and it's an intentional thing, maybe because of a previous bad relationship, give it a try again. Absolutely. Try again. The grandkids deserve it.
Yeah, and I think the grandparents deserve it as well.
Yeah.
And just think about it like this. If you're not getting along, hopefully you're getting along with your parent, but if for whatever reason that you're not, that doesn't mean that you take the grandchild out unless you think the grandchild is in some kind of danger or something like that, that obviously you don't want to put them, in that kind of situation. But, and I say this from a place of, it brings a lot of joy. Like when the grandkids have recitals at school or plays or sing-alongs and things like that, and they see Janice and I come through the door, but then they see another grandparent on the other side come through the door. And something that reminds me of that was when one of the grandchildren had something at their school and I was there, his other grandfather was there, and his great grandfather was on my side was there. And, when all these males were there, and he was just so in heaven. And even the teachers was like, oh, wow, look at you. You got all this support here. Mm-hmm. And it was just such a warm feeling because the child had this lit look on their face. And it was like you could tell they were just so happy to see everybody. And it was like their whole community was coming together to support them.
Yeah. So I beg of you to give it a try. If you don't have that relationship, give it a try. I could not imagine. Derek and I are at a place in our life where we've had the opportunity to move away for
a few times
employment opportunities, and I couldn't even imagine. Yeah. I can't imagine. And I know there was one point one of my children was military, and he was considering, moving away. And at the time when Mason was little, and I poured my heart out to him. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I can't do it. And I know that was selfish. And he did tell me, like, Mom, you're not considering me and my family, blah, 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 blah. I'm just thankful to God that it worked out, that, they decided without my intervention. I might have had a little bit of weight.
You did.
Okay.
You did.
A little bit. But they decided that they didn't decide to move away. But I just can't imagine life without my grandchildren. So moving on to that, I know that we are privileged, those of us who have a choice in being able to support our grandchildren and being involved in their life. Some grandparents have to step into the primary caregiver role. Like they don't have a choice. Like kids ain't leaving on the weekend. You're not going to be able to woosah because you are the primary caregiver. And so I know that in our community, many things make that happen. Mm-hmm. And so I want to talk about a few of them. One of them is specific to raising grandchildren in the African-American culture as a primary caregiver. And statistics show that African-American grandparents are more likely to raise their grandchildren compared to other groups of people. And that's where that saying goes that it takes a village to raise a child, or village in action. And sometimes this is due to incarceration. Parents take on an illness that doesn't allow them to be the primary caregiver, financial struggles, or just life just happens. It could be mental health issues that grandparents feel that they need to step into that role. But what's most amazing is that grandparents have resilience and they're just going to do it. Their love for their children and their grandchildren will make them step into those positions. And specifically in our culture, grandparents are the keepers of the family, the faith, traditions, and history. Yeah. And that is what I tell Derek when my grandkids are with us. I always want an experience. Right?
Definitely.
We chose a while ago to stop just doing just gifts for milestones, birthdays, special occasions, and start giving experiences. And one of them almost took my husband out one year. I decided, I want the grandkids for their birthdays to pick a place that they want to travel to.
You notice she rubbing my back.
And we flew them wherever they wanted to go. And it was it's something I will never forget. It's something they will never forget. And babe, you will never forget those memories created either.
I won't forget the bill either. Definitely won't forget.
Y'all should know, if you listen to our finance podcast show, y'all know what we dealing with over here. But I'm grateful, babe. I really am. I'm grateful that you allow me to do those things. And I'm sure that they will tell you in years to come. I know they still talk about some of those experiences even now. And even if it's not a plane trip, just taking them to places that they've never been, and giving them experiences that they will remember for a lifetime. So again, grandparents, we are those keepers of the faith and the traditions and history. And so when a child is raised by a grandma, they're often getting double the love and double the discipline, right? So many people who were raised by their grandparents, if you're listening, I know you can say that, parts of your life, that your grandmother instilled in you or your grandparents instilled in you. And one of those, likely in the African American culture, is their faith. And it's definitely family traditions, how you celebrate and just giving you the history of the family that comes from grandparents. But let's be real, it's not always easy. It can be emotional and it could be a financial strain. Grandparents who have to step into that role didn't step into that role with the expectation that, I'm going to have, several more mouths to feed or another mouth to feed or clothe or, be engaged. Maybe a lot of times grandparents have to change their life because of taking on the role of being a primary caregiver. So that's why it's important for us to talk about faith and legacy, because grandparents aren't just raising children, they're raising the next generation of leaders. And I know y'all believe that.
Absolutely.
What is going on in our local society and environment today? A lot of things that are happening with youth and the misbehaving that they're doing, I believe is tied a lot to family history and who's raising them, and also the absenteeism of grandparenting.
Yeah. I think grandparenting too brings a lot of accountability. It's another set of eyes to watch over, to pray over, but then also to challenge them as well. And I think, oftentimes where kids may be sly and slick to their parents, they're usually pretty forthcoming with their grandparents, believe it or not. And, the grandparents can look at them in a way that would drive that truth out of them, where the parents, where they try to at times deceive them. It's just totally different. Mm-hmm. But I do believe that that's something that's missing. And but I'm not saying that with all of that means that you're going to be, the perfect child either. But I do believe that the chances increase drastically when you have the grandparents and the parents all invested.
I definitely believe that too. So our next talking points before we wrap up is about the faith and the legacy. And so there's a scripture, Proverbs 17:6, that says children are a crown to the aged. Mm-hmm. That crown isn't just about joy, it's about responsibility, right? So what that scripture is saying is that grandparenting is not always about fun.
Yeah.
We have a responsibility, as Derek just summed it up, to pour into our children so they're able to effectively pour into their children, right? We pass down our faith. Our grandkids, the other day we was at church with one of our grandchildren, and he was on a phone. And he was on the phone. This was while praise and worship was going on. And the minute that the pastor took the mic and began to pray, without even telling him, he put the phone down and he put his head down. And that comes with knowing the expectation. Sometimes when we pray in the car and the kids are occupied, they know to shut it down. They know when prayer goes forth what the expectation is. Yeah. And so I had another grandchild that his mom told me that he was singing at another grandparent's house, singing a worship song, and he just randomly started singing it. And she said, my mom was brought to tears just by hearing him, because she didn't know that he knew that. And
knew that song.
Yeah, knew that song. And that is when, as grandparents, you stand aside and you just like, what we do matters.
Yeah. Those are the moments when you see it. Even like with kids, you raise your kids, you do the best that you could do. And then when you see what you're pouring into them starts to flow out of them, it gives you a certain feeling. Now, even as grandparents, because really there's a layer of distance, so you don't get to impart every single day like you did your own children. But, to Janice's point, those moments matter. And that's why when you hear the saying, make every moment count, you know that those moments actually counted because you see it being either replayed or said, or even if they're like, for example, the topic we're on, when you're at church, we may not say anything about anything, but from what they hear, from what they observe, from their perspective, they're able to repeat or sing that or whatever the case may be. And it's like, oh, you were paying attention. Mm-hmm. Okay, I thought you were on the phone, or I thought you were just, whatever. But it's those things that they pick up, and it's like, okay, all right. Yeah. This is sticking then.
Mm-hmm. One other cute memory that I have of one day one of the grandkids was listening to a message, and I was watching playing back a replay of one of the messages that was ministered, and it was shut the F up. And
explain real quick what that means. Okay, don't go any further. Go ahead and explain what that.
The title of the message was "Shut the F Up."
F meaning
fear.
Okay.
Shut the fear up.
There you go.
So as I'm replaying, which I often do, replay the messages and take my notes. One of the grandkids was here, and so he asked about that, and I had to explain to him, and I put it in context for him for something that he's afraid of, which is storms. And I said, when you get afraid, you need to tell the devil, shut the F up, shut the fear up. Yes, I did. So he went home, and his mom texted me and told me that he said just blatantly with no explanation, shut the F up. And she was like, so I had to research further to see what did he mean. So she said that he explained to her, what have you. But again, even in that moment, it was he took what he learned from a virtual church session and he applied it.
Okay, so sometimes, we have to use wisdom. So sometimes, depending on their age,
I imparted to him what was imparted to me.
I understand, but I don't think in that moment he was ready for that, because he's repeating that, and if he can't explain why he's saying or what he's saying, then other people are looking at that like, oh my God, look at this child.
But he said it. He explained it.
Okay. His
mom liked it. She liked it.
Okay. I don't know. If he said shut the F up, I don't know. I just have some.
Yeah. Well, our pastor said it. So there you go. You have it. Okay.
Okay, the pastor said it.
So again, we pass down faith. When grandchildren see us praying, reading scripture, showing kindness, we are teaching them without a word, which is what Derek already said. We don't have to say nothing. When they see our actions, and vice versa, right? When they see us going off on people, when they see us cussing people out, when they see us talking about their parents, that applies as well. So you have to be careful, because we all know children are impressionable. And that doesn't mean just young. That's older too, right? Mm-hmm. They take that and they apply it to however they choose to in their life. So use wisdom. And legacy isn't always money, right? It's about leaving wisdom, cultural pride, spiritual grounding, all of that.
What the family stood for.
Yes. So when we talk about leaving a rich legacy, it don't always equate that to money.
Yeah.
Again, which is why I like to spend as much time as I can to impart in my grandchildren however I can. I try to involve them in everything that we do, whether that's fun things, cooking, gardening, our faith, finances, getting them debit cards, showing them how, money works. It's all of that. All of that is rich legacy that we should be pouring into our grandchildren. And I was talking to Derek about this before we decided to do this episode. And I said, do parents ever think about when I have children, like how to prepare to be a grandchild? And what did you, or grandparent, and you was like, no, people don't think about that.
Because I just think that people wouldn't, I mean, obviously at some point you're going to be like, oh, at some time we're going to be grandparents. But I don't think people would fast forward their lives to really delve into it enough to really think about it and plan that out. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people think it's going to be here soon enough, so I'm not going to fast forward it.
I think we think about it, we just don't put it in grandparents' terms because we think we raise our children to be the best they can be so that one day when they have children, they help them to be the best they can be. But we miss out, like, where am I at in that role, right? Mm-hmm. You still have a role. Like, our role doesn't stop until we leave this earth.
True.
And our prayers still live here. That is why we should be having the prayers that we have over our grandchildren, so that God honors them beyond our lifespan, right? Many of us are in places and spaces where we are today because of the prayers of our grandparents.
I agree with that. I'm just saying that I don't think that children would fast forward their life to really plan out. I mean, again, you have your hopes, your wishes, your dreams to say, when I'm a grandparent, I want to do this, that, or the other, but to really deep dive into it. I mean, I'm sure you have some people that do, but I don't think that the majority probably would, because they're living in the here and now.
Yeah. Well, I was diagnosed at 41. Yeah, 41. And my first time, and I knew then I wanted to be a I knew before then. I knew early on.
Well, at 41, you're into it. I mean,
I didn't have any grandkids then.
No, but I mean, 41 makes sense that you would be planning for that.
Yeah. So but I knew before that. I knew when watching my mom, I knew that I wanted to be a grandparent. Like I wanted to have that space in place. Just like my mom had a space at her house for grandchildren, whether that was play space, their own room. We have the same. Our grandchildren have a designated place for all their fun things. They have their designated rooms with their own bed. Like yeah. So, okay. All right. So let's talk about, before closing, some practical tips for grandparents. First, we need to take care of ourselves. You can't pour into your grandchildren if your cup is empty. Do you agree?
I agree.
And that speaks volumes. That really does. If you want to enjoy, if you're not a grandparent right now, you want, and you desire to be at one time, at some point in time in your life, you really need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself so that you can do all the things that grandparents do, or that grandchildren expect you to do, like be out playing soccer with them, right, Derek? Or
if your knees can take it,
going to games and being a part of their different activities in their life. It takes a lot of energy. And especially when they're young. And we've had all of our grandchildren at our home overnight when they were infants. Mm-hmm. All of them. When they were waking up every 2 hours. Yeah, we did that.
Yeah, that was fun.
I say we are very experienced grandparents. Second, set healthy boundaries. Support your children in parenting without overstepping. So don't do it, Janice.
That's hard, though.
It is hard.
Because I want to keep them, and I just want to set the tone. I want to tell the parents, don't do this, that, or you do this, that, and the other.
But you do so good. I wish I could be like you. He finds ways to have conversations with the kids that actually, I don't want to say trick them, but persuade them to do the right thing. Whereas I just go all in. I just jump in. I just say it. And I just then think about, Derek had to tell me behind the scenes, did you think about how they may have felt when you blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I didn't. But I will take that into consideration.
Yeah, and I think it's because, they have their own thoughts, they have their own opinions, and not that you're trying to sway them, but you're giving them another option to look at, or just say, well, did you consider this?
Yeah.
And it's just, maybe I didn't consider that, or yeah, I did, and we can have a conversation from there. And, some of it is kind of inflicting your will on them just a little bit. without being too pushy, but you just expressing it. And it just gives them something to think about.
Sometimes I don't even give them the opportunity. Like I do stuff and then I tell them later. Like, for example, my daughter-in-law said, just casually one day I'm on FaceTime on the phone talking to the kids, and I said something about my grandson that is not yet 1. He's close to it. He will be next month. Mm-hmm. And she sarcastically made the comment, and I took it like a champ on the chest. She was like, yeah, he doesn't want his baby food anymore because you feeding him regular food, Mom. I'm like, regular food when he's at your house. And I'm like, oh, really? So I went right over the conversation like I didn't hear it. And then the other day when they were over here and Derek like straight up told on me, he was like, yeah, Granny be feeding them, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, looking like, you like, don't you, Granny? I just looked right over that too. Like,
I don't think that was the time I said that.
You did. You was like, she giving them sweet potatoes.
Oh, yeah. That's because our son asked me about it.
So, yeah, don't ask, don't tell. So that's my motto, like, So anyway, and again, let me not water that down, because I know that there are some parents out there probably clenching your pearls, like, don't go against what we're doing. Now, again, I'm not going to do anything in my mind that's unhealthy for the child. I knew that he was able to I think my parents introduced food to my kids when they were months old. Like, you don't have to go. Okay, let me shut up.
Well, let me just say this real quick. Let me just interject, because to be clear, giving them smashed sweet potatoes or yams, they have that in baby food. It's just got a different type of taste. And so for a child his age, of course he would. It's all sugared up. He will like it better. He remembers, right, the texture and all of that kind of stuff. And he's like, making this better. This is a little sweeter than what I remember.
The kids could be watching.
I'll take Granny's version.
All right, children, if you're watching, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Sorry.
Noah, I'm not sorry for you. Exactly. And Granny has something else
and
for you.
Noah loved it too.
He did. Okay, if you're raising your grandchildren, don't be afraid to ask for help. I've seen this often, whether that's from church, community programs, or even counseling, it can be overwhelming, and especially for grandparents that are up in age and and technology. I don't even know how grandparents can even compete with these kids with technology. But I am encouraging you that if you are a grandparent raising grandchildren, that you should not feel like it's an issue to ask for help. You really should ask for the help and support that you need.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And at the end of the day, grandparents are the heartbeat of the family. That's who we are. Whether you're spoiling your grandbabies or raising them, our role is invaluable.
Yeah.
So, and the closing points is we want to honor every grandparent today.
Yes, we do. We honor you.
You matter. Your presence is purpose.
It is.
Definitely. We love to hear from you. We love to hear your stories about or comments about how you grandparent. And you can, make a comment here. Reach out to us. We will be in 2026. We will be having guest appearances on our podcast. So we look forward to that. But we just wanted to celebrate one of the most important days of the year, and that is Grandparents' Day. And again, we go beyond the day. We celebrate the entire month. And if it was left up to me, I would celebrate the entire year.
There's no reason why we can't.
It isn't. And we will. That's what we'll do.
That's what we'll do.
Every day is Grandparents' Day.
Every day should be Grandparents' Day.
Can y'all call our children and let them know that we just established that every day is Grandparents' Day? So we want to continue to get the gifts and the accolades and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Every day.
So with every day being Grandparents' Day, for all the grandparents out there, this is your takeaway. This is your action item, is to, if you're not involved, get involved. If you're involved, get more involved.
Yeah.
But most importantly, love on them.
Absolutely.
It is so rewarding.
Continue to pass down the rich legacy.
Definitely.
All
Pour
right.
into. The more you pour in, the more that the world can enjoy.
Exactly. And that is so true. It's across the world, our local communities, our states, our country, our nation is better when we pour back the way that we're supposed to. So
Definitely better.
yes.
Definitely better.
All right, y'all. Until next time, we will see ya. And happy Grandparents Month.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Purposeful Exchange Podcast with your hosts, Derek and Janice of Purposeful Marriages.
See ya. Peace.
Take care.
Bye-bye.